Hello everyone, I am Vinfu Lee, and I'm here today with my team, Karim Solomon, Al Pashevsky, Amit Rao, and Remilius Ong to present to the class about film form and camera techniques. Now let's get right into it. So our agenda today will start off by talking about some different popular camera angle and shots. Then we talk about specifically about Christopher Nolan camera techniques and Martin Scorsese's camera techniques, and then we'll have a question period at the end for the class. So, what is camera angle? Essentially, camera angle is a way of how the camera is set up to manipulate how the audience can perceive a scene. It also adds a meaning layer to a shot, and it can be dynamic and connect with different techniques to create a bigger meaning of a scene. So I'll start with low angle shot. So low angle shot is recorded by placing the camera below a subject's eye looking up. It is used as a technique to make a subject looks or appear more powerful than they are. It is perfect for heroes and villains shot. As opposed to low angle for bringing the character up, high angle techniques beats the character down. These two usually go together at a really strong techniques to empower the strong and depower the weak. And it could also use to emphasize the imbalance of power between the subjects. High angle is also used to capture the environment such as landscape, cities, from an elevated height, also known as aerial shot or overhead shot. I'm going to talk a bit more about overhead shot in the next slide. So overhead shot is also known as a bird's eye view or God eyes view. It is used to it's a very unique type of camera angle. It could be used for multiple purposes, depends on the intention of the filmmaker. Some directors use to magnify or empower high-angle shots and to capture a larger view of surroundings. Some use the technique to represent a character's point of view, looking from above, just like a God perspective. Next up is the Dutch angle. Dutch angle skew the horizontal axis of frame. It can throw the audience off balance. The angles is used to create an unease feeling. This type of camera techniques create disorientation or disorder in the scenes when the character, for example, is drunk or beating up. It also could be used to increase effectively the tension of a fighting scene and make a character look scarier than they usually are. Next up is the eye level angle. This technique is happen when the camera is placed on the character eye level. This shot is one of the most common angle shot in film industry and is mainly used for instant connection of a character with the audience. It used to bring the audience into the scene or into the perspective of a character. Hip level shot is also a fairly popular used angle in film industry. It typically found itself in cowboy western genre movie. Hip level shot can be used in conjunction with eye level shot to create tension and excitement. For example, in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Sergio Leone, the two picture on my right here, is many duel in the scene was recorded by jumps between various hip shots, holster shot, by hip level holster shots, and eye level extreme close up to build up the tension even higher. Knee level, second lastly is knee level sees an object as a knee height. It often confused with low angle. It's a great tool to track down a character movement in the environment or to capture smaller detail that may have missed in a wider shot. Lastly is the ground level. The camera is placed all the way down the ground or even below the ground. It used as a stylish way to capture the character movement throughout the scene or to capture detail of a setting. It can tell a lot about a character, whether they're confident, shy, or sneaky in their walking patterns. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it to Karim to talk about Christopher Nolan.
Thanks, Vin. Hi, everyone. I'm going to introduce Christopher Nolan and talk about his unique film form. I'm also going to talk about some of the interesting facts about him and about the ways he directs a film. I will then pass it off to Al to talk about Nolan's camera techniques. Christopher Nolan is a British film director and a screenwriter. He's born in July 30th, 1970 in London, England. He started making films at a very young age. He was 15 years old when he started. He's self-taught. He never went to film school. Some of his famous films are Insomnia, Batman, The Dark Knight trilogy, The Prestige, Inception, and Interstellar. His films have a very distinct form. Nolan is known for his nonlinear storytelling. And in editing, he uses a lot of cross-cutting between several scenes of parallel actions to build to a climax. This creates suspense, engages the audience, and gives the story a lot of momentum. Christopher Nolan does not use a monitor on set. He wants to be by the camera at all times. He wants to see where the camera is relative to everything in the set. He places the camera in places where the audience is very closely aligned with the character's points of view. Also, Nolan does not use zoom lenses. He preferred to place the camera very close to the actors, like it's almost in their personal space, and he believes that this helps the actor perform a lot better. He also tries to use real locations as much as possible and very little CGI. Nolan uses a lot of inserts. They're props that are placed in certain scenes to mean certain things. He believes that there is a form of narrative connection that is made through objects. Finally, he uses something called book ending, which means that the beginning and the ending share something identical. It can be a dialogue, a prop, a color scheme, or an entire scene. And now I'll pass it off to Al to talk about camera techniques. Thanks.
Thank you, Karim. Now let's take a look at Nolan's signature shots. These are the shots he has in multiple films that he has directed. One of Nolan's most famous shots is a barrel roll. This could be a close or a wide shot where either the set is rotating or the camera is rotating with the subjects in the shot. In the movie Inception, sometimes the subjects are rotating, switching with the whole set rotating, while the subjects are struggling to stay upright. In the movie The Dark Knight, the camera is rotating while the subject, the Joker, and the set are stationary. And in the movie Interstellar, sometimes we have set rotating, switching with camera rotating, switching to subjects rotating. Basically everything is rotating around everything. Who's to say that Earth is rotating around the Sun or Sun is rotating around the Earth? In space everything is rotating with respect to something. That's why Nolan was perfect director for this movie, because barrel roll shots is one of his signature moves. The surreal landscape shot. This is something you often see in Christopher Nolan films. This would be a wide shot with surreal scenery. It would look real and mesmerizing, but at the same time a little or a lot far from reality, not hiding the truth that the scenery is not real. There would often be actors in a scene giving a sense of scale. Uh, I've prepared a compilation from three different movies, Interstellar, Inception, and Insomnia, and you can see the similarity between the shots for yourself. Mounted camera shot is another one of cool shots you may often find in Christopher Nolan films. It's where the camera is attached to something as it moves about the set, and the subject would often take up at least half of the screen. This kind of shot really puts the viewer in a scene as a point of view of the viewer moves with the subject moving, giving the viewer a sense of immersive feel. In the movie The Dark Knight, you saw the Joker sticking out of the window of a police vehicle as the vehicle was moving around, and the vehicle was taking up half of the screen. In the movie Interstellar, you'll see the spacecraft taking up at least half of the screen. And lastly, open aerial shot. This would be a wide shot of a landscape, often following some kind of aircraft. And now I'll pass it on to Ahmed.
All right, thank you, Al. Another one of the great directors of the modern film era we'll be looking at is Martin Scorsese. He's directed popular titles such as Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, The Wolf of Wall Street, and many more. He likes to shoot things the way he perceives them, and he gives a lot of thought on camera movement and angles to generate the emotions that he wants the audience to feel. Some of his signature shots that we'll be looking at are the one shot, the full focus shot, the dolly shot, and the overhead shot. So starting with the one shot, this is a shot, part of a long take. It involves the camera constantly moving with the focus all in one take. And the equipment used to generate such shot includes tracks, skips, cranes, steadicams, and such. This shot gives the audience the feeling of being present in real time with the subject of the scene. Here's a good example of Martin Scorsese using the one-shot technique in his film Goodfellas. So this is a 3-minute take in total, and it makes the audience basically feel like they're physically walking behind the characters throughout the scene as they go through the many atmospheric changes from their car all the way to their table. The next shot we'll be talking about is the pull focus. This is a creative camera technique to change the focus, usually from one subject to another during a single shot. The shot allows to emphasize a certain subject to make them the subject of attention, while other subjects may also be present in the shot. It's commonly done during scenes of dialogues when there may be a need to capture the emotion of other subjects momentarily. Here's another good example of Martin Scorsese using the pull focus technique in his film Casino. So in this example of a pull focus, the subject of attention is constantly changing throughout the shot as he introduces his crew, and it's done by simply moving the camera from one subject to another, all done in one shot. And now I'll pass it off to Ken.
Thanks, Amin. So another camera angle frequently used by director Martin Scorsese is the dolly zoom. The dolly zoom is a rather simple in-camera technique where the camera is mounted on a dolly and moves towards or away from the subject while simultaneously zooming in or out. The combination of the motion and the zoom does multiple things. It creates a sense of unease for the viewer, simulates spatial warp, and can give the impression that the background is somehow changing in size. The effect changes based on the choice of direction. This is an example of the dolly zoom in use by Martin Scorsese in Raging Bull, 1980.
Robinson, apparently tired, punched with a fairly well and rocked Jake LaMotta right to the field. Come on, Ray.
In this clip, Robinson, the boxer, appears to stay the same in size, while the background moves further away. To accomplish this, the camera head on dolly would have had to move away from Robinson, while simultaneously the camera was zooming in. The result gives a disoriented feeling, which puts the audience into the headspace of the other boxer, Jake LaMotta. Another camera angle Martin Scorsese frequently uses in his films is the overhead shot. This type of shot is a high angle shot above the subject. The overhead shot is sometimes dubbed the God's point of view shot because the audience is able to see all the action, the aftermath, and the surroundings of the subject. Further, the God's point of view shot puts the audience in a moment of judgment. They are able to pass their judgment on the subject. This is one of the highlights of Taxi Driver, 1976, directed by Martin Scorsese. In this clip, the aftermath of the brutal
murder that just took place is in full view, and the God's point of view allows the audience to look down as if to judge Travis Bickle's actions. Is he the hero or the villain of the movie? The God's point of view lets the viewer make their own choice. And these are some behind the scenes pictures from Taxi Driver showing how they were able to take the God's point of view shot we just watched. They had to cut through the ceiling of the set they were filming in, and that took a few months just to take that one shot. It's quite a bit of work. And this concludes our presentation. Thank you, everyone. Now we have 3 questions for the class.